or not to be? That is the question of oral interpretation. Excuse me while I flip through my pages here and see if I can find my notes on my poem. This is a discovery of interpretation. It's just the way we say it. Oral interpretation is used to study literature, but most important, you have to understand what literature is saying, what it's really saying, and what it really means. So saying is the direct saying of what it is, the definition meaning, whereas the connotative meaning is the word that is expressed through the attitude associated with it. So when you do interpretation, you do it with your voice and your body. Your body will show these things. Now the first thing that you will notice is that the audience will look at you. Hey, is this guy nervous? And they will automatically have a sense of feeling. But if you prepare before you go on stage and you say, well, okay, I need to relax, stretch, and take some deep breathing exercise, then you're ready to go. And when you do perform, you must have emotion in there. Okay? Look out, for the beam is falling. While saying that, you must color your words in. You can't say it boringly or without any kind of intensity. So, prose is a piece of work that you read. And in this prose, you are the one who's presenting the feelings. So you're analyzing this piece of reading to your audience, and in doing so, you set the mood. And if your audience can pick it up, you're good to go. But if they don't, you're not. So you have to have an introduction and the work itself, and you need to be prepared. So, in the prose, you're transforming from the written page to a feeling or acting situation. Now, when you're preparing for prose, you must do your analysis, read it through many times and see what is it trying to say. Then after you are ready to go, have this piece of writing prepared in a dark folder so you'll be prepared to present it in a professional manner. Now, the interpretation that you place on it, and keep in mind, you may be reading the same piece of reading that somebody else right next to you, just prior to you, was reading, but the way you present it will be the way that the judges or the viewers or your audience will view it. Now, there's another piece of oral interpretation, which is the poetry. And the poetry is when somebody has a piece of writing, they have to set it to a certain rhythm, a certain pace and timing. And you can speed up to say what you have to say, but when you say it wrong, they will tell. There are a lot of tools in poetry. The way your character is moving, slowly, quietly. You will talk slower and a little bit more quiet. And you will have the flow there to go. Poetry, again, is from the printed page to the actual performance. So when you're ready to perform, the first thing you need to do is create an atmosphere, a sense of whether it's the setting, the sunniness, the raininess, the boredom that the person who you're reading about is experiencing. And if you have your poem and it's 10 minutes, it means it's too long. So you're going to have to cut it. Cut it means how you're going to chop it down to that point that not only speaks to the poem, but also has and still maintains the feeling that is hoping that the poet will present. Now, in analyzing drama, the first is a story. Now, these are important parts. Exposition, exciting incident, rising, crisis, climax, and denouement. The exposition is when you're setting the stage, you're introducing the character. The exciting incident is where the plot comes into motion. And finally, it reels itself to an emotional point. And the plot thickens. The crisis is when you have that conflict come into play. Climax is when they resolve it. And it's building up to that point. And finally, the denouement is when the situation is solved. So here we have these 5 or 6 points we need to remember. Drama from a written page. One of the most important things to do is to gesture. You need to gesture because you're feeling. You have to occupy that whole stage with your body movement and your gestures. It may be such that you will need to use your hands, your movement, your head, and so on and so forth. Too much is not good. Too little is no good. Action characterizes the people. It creates them, especially in pantomime, the action that you do. Pantomime is the use of the physical action to imitate business carried out in real life. And when you are interpreting, you have to find at least one person with whom you can establish eye contact. Suppose you have character B and you'll focus on characters A, C, and D. Group interpretation is another form of interpretation. Every person that is involved needs to be in coordination with the next person, and each one of them has an equally important role. And here, because there's so many people, timing is very important, and you need to pay close attention to your cues. Now, when the oral interpreter combines his voice to bring to life a piece of work or drama, that's called choral reading or choral speaking. Now, rehearsal and evaluation. Practice makes perfect. I don't need to explain to you what that means. Constant practice, going over and over again until the timing, the word, the sound, every second that is utilized in this has to have some sort of imagery in your audience's mind. The question you need to ask yourself is, did my introduction allow me to present myself and connect with the audience? If you didn't do that in your introduction, you're out again. Was my characterization consistent and honest? How effective was my voice and my physical being? And then finally, did you build the selection effectively and created the meaning that you want? And did I feel good in the overall performance from beginning to end?